Okay, testing, test. Um, we're talking about my book, Mckinnen Mondays. How this breaks down is we're gonna do a brief paragraph that we'll read about and kind of discuss what it's about. My book, as you can see behind you, it's been out since December. I wrote it over the Christmas break, or I'm sorry, I wrote it over quarantine break. It's been something that's been in my thought process for about 3 years now, and yeah, we're gonna deep dive into the book. We'll start with chapter 1, day 1. We'll do this every Monday. Hope you guys enjoy. Just to kind of give you a briefing of my book, it kind of speaks to things that are happening and continue to happening as a society, as human beings, as kin. As you can see, kin is in red because we're all kinfolk, and we keep doing things to each other that we shouldn't, and it even stems from parenting and family and things of that nature. So I hope you guys enjoy. So my first chapter is basically some background about the family. The daughter is very curious. She's always wondering about what's happening, and she continues to grow in that curiosity and grow some courage and starts to explore. So I'm going to read the excerpt that I wanted to highlight from this chapter, and then I'll kind of discuss it, give some background to it, and talk about a few things. And then that'll end Mckinnen Mondays. I only want to hold you guys for about 10 minutes. So yeah, I don't want to keep you guys too long. So my parents, Mark and Kate, met in high school and love being in the outdoors together. I think this is why they chose to live in the outskirts of the city on purpose, but they just don't tell us. They love the wilderness and peace that it provides. They always want to keep the family close despite how old we get, which is why I think they built this really big house so that they would not leave once we became adults. Plus, it is close to the business that they own. We don't make much money at all, but we always have enough to eat and have good enough clothes to wear. My parents have instilled values of family, love, closeness, and appreciation of moments in our lives despite some of the great challenges that all people face. My parents seem stressed out at times, but won't talk to us about it because they say, when you reach this age, that stress will come. Why? Because we're McKinnens. My mother is often trying to make sure my father is okay and does not lose his temper. There have been many times that he has lost it, but my mother has managed to calm him down by reminding him to think about the children and what we have at home, and that no one can take that away from us. There have been many moments as a family that we have all lost our tempers and had to remind ourselves that we need to make it home to our peace. Our home is our peace. No one bothers us there. So there's a few things in that excerpt that are important that I think need to be discussed. Peace, right? You'll find out, when, happy Father's Day to the fathers out there, by the way, which was yesterday. I had to take care of my kids on Father's Day, which is fine. Family sacrifice is always good. But as a child, mayhem and chaos is always important. But as you get older, peace is it's something about peace. And I think I found out about that at an early age because I was a quiet kid. I was an introvert, but loved sports and academics, of course. You guys will find out a little more as you guys get to know me and what I've accomplished, especially during this quarantine. I've done a lot of things. I've been a busybody, and in one way or another, we'll get around to the history of me, right, the author. But peace, as you get older, all parents want is peace at home, because the world is a scary place, and the world is very chaotic and can be, dealing with coworkers, dealing with people, dealing with all the things that come with it, right? So you learn as you get older that peace is probably the most serene thing. And then also peace brings you closer to yourself, brings you closer to God. For those who are religious out there, it brings you closer to finding the things that, finding the answers to some of those questions about you, yourself, and you know, your environment and those around you. Listening, recapping on different situations, and just learning from those. So I think peace is important. So I kind of briefly spoke about that in the book because I think more than anything, your peace at home is far more important than anything else. And you want to have that place of calm to go to. You always want to have that place wherever it is, whether it's home or somewhere where you can go to where you can have that peace. Learning about peace and enjoying the peace and the calm and the relaxation of nothingness, or a little bit of anything that you enjoy, is always important. Keeping the family close. Also, as you get older, you learn the importance of that. Some people learn it earlier in life because of the tragedies and things that they go through. Just keeping family close, right? The ones, and I'm not even speaking of biological family, just a family in general, whoever you consider family, those you love, those you trust around you. I think it's important to know who your family is, of course, through, you know, trials and tribulations or ups and downs, peaks and valleys as you go through, and also knowing that you want to keep them close because they're always going to be there to help you and to be beside you. And in this story, you know, for Molly, her family is everything that she has. Her family is everything to her, and her family is important. And she learns that, and she wants to protect them, and she tries to find ways to do that, as you'll find out later on as I continue Mckinnen Mondays. And sometimes as a kid, you don't know that or understand how important, you know, keeping your family close. And then you start to learn, too, that your family's not always the biological ones, too. It's the ones that you adopt and learn and grow with as you get older. So what I briefly read about, too, you know, as the parents said, because we're McKinnens, it dropped a little clue, a little gem, you know. And if you're kind of paying attention as you read along in my book, I've dropped little secret hints, little Easter eggs, little things to make you pay attention, because Molly's gonna find out, you know, the history and the significance behind her name. And her parents kind of stress that to her, you know, hey, we're gonna go through things because of our last name, because of who we are. But they don't want to give her much more information, mainly because they don't want her digging. They don't want her looking for these things. And they know that Molly is that type of person. She's going to search and look for answers to things that are going on. And she's going to continue to ask questions that you guys can see. First chapter is full of questions. Molly is kind of briefing the audience on who she is and what she's about, but she's also letting you know, hey, I'm curious. I'm always asking why. I'm always curious why. She just never really started taking action until she starts to grow older and starts to gain frustration. So that was another thing. Also, it kind of takes a peek at, you know, as a Black community, what we go through, right? We kind of try to warn our kids as parents as we get older, hey, you can't do that, or, you know, we're going to go through this because of this. Right. So in this sense, in this story, this family's white, of course, but because of their name and their history, they go through things. Same thing for the Black community, because of our name, because of our history, our skin color, who we are, what have you, based on, you know, you want to look at systemic nature, you want to look at historical nature, you want to look at global nature, or just nature of human beings in itself. You try to warn your kids of, you know, certain boundaries and things that they can't do or they can't cross, or, you know, what have you. So that's a hint there. You know, this book kind of looks at and sheds light on quite a few things if you really pay attention and you think about it, is that, you know, what Molly is experiencing, what her parents are warning her of, is the same things that every parent warns their kids about, whether it's in a systemic racist nature or maybe in a neighborhood nature, hey, you can't go across those tracks because this family's feuding with this family, or you can't go here because you're not allowed to. Any little rules that are put in place that aren't real rules, that are given and unwritten, those unwritten rules, or you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, why? Why is that something that's not allowed when the law clearly states it is? And that's another thing with what we're going through, is that there's a lot of unwritten rules that cost a lot of people their lives when it's not even a rule in the first place. So I think that's the trick to society in itself, that there's these rules that nobody wants to talk about that aren't even in the law. So yeah, I mean, other than that, like, just the intro to the chapter is there. I'm going to be doing this once a week. Mckinnen Mondays, excerpts from the chapter, little background on why I wrote the book, and just to bring more awareness in a different way. I want to bring awareness in a fictional manner because of the importance that we need to do and learn about ourselves so that we can learn and give to each other. I think that's very, very important. So those of you just hung in there for the 10 to 12 minutes, thank you for listening. Again, I'll be dropping these weekly just to kind of bring some light to my book that I wrote, that I'm extremely proud of, that I hope that everyone reads and enjoys, and give me feedback. And give me feedback in the comments, asking me questions you like. I love to have open discourse. Hopefully we can have Mckinnen Monday wrap up, where I can do a discourse with folks who read the book and have questions, and any suggestions or opinions that they may have, that I'm always open to. All right, thanks guys for listening.